In this Creator Series interview, we are talking to an amazing guitarist, vocalist, music creator, all round nice guy, and he's from Canada, so you know he's extra nice. Please welcome to Studio Live today, the one, the only, Mike Haggith. That's what he looks like, but this is what he looks like too.
Thanks, man. Good to be here. Hi.
How you doing? Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time out to join us today.
Well, thank you. I mean, you've got 100,000 subs and I have 71, 70. Yeah. So thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Oh no, it's fantastic. We've done probably 50 odd of these Creator Series interviews, and it's always awesome. So for those that are here live, welcome. For those watching on the replay, welcome as well. If you have questions for Mike as we go through, throw your hardest questions that you can possibly think of. I lured Mike in by saying that it was going to be lots of easy questions that all be about him. But if you want to know about different key signatures and scales and versions of chords and things, you can ask those of Mike. But in all
Sure. Yeah.
seriousness, what we like to do here at the start of these shows is to hear about you. For those that don't know you, don't know what you do, and I like to call it the music origin story. So if you're a musical superhero, what would your origin story be? How did you get to where you are now musically?
Born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, which is the farthest south in Canada, just about that you can go. It's actually south of Detroit in the US.
Wow.
Born and raised, spent the first 18 years of my life there. Started writing music when I was about 5 or 6, and just never stopped. I just kind of knew my whole life. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a musician. I'm gonna write and I'm gonna record and I'm gonna do albums and all of these things. So I recorded my first tape, which I have right here,
Oh
at the age
wow.
of 13. So
Props. I
this
love
is
it.
now about 17 years old, something like that. Yeah, there it is, right there.
Wow.
Bam.
Oh, I
Um,
love that. Yeah, with the track
yeah,
listings and everything. Yeah,
yeah.
it looks
I've got a
perfect.
real knack for good album names. So this one is called Demonstration Recording. Super cool. Yeah, 11 songs of borderline unlistenable.
Oh wow.
It's me and an acoustic guitar and a Pioneer tape deck with a single mic where you click it on and off, and you can still hear it before each song.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
wow. So yeah,
so
I was
yeah.
going to ask that how that was recorded. Was it just the tape deck with the microphone plugged in that we all used back in the day?
Oh God, yeah, that's all it was. So yeah, I recorded a lot of tapes through. So this one was February of 2005 was my first one. I was 13 years old, and I recorded a whole lot of tapes up until about 2010, and then started going digital. Um, and was finally able to make CDs. And over the years, and in and out of a bunch of bands, and a lot of great performances, and played alongside a lot of great musicians, and still kind of keeping my solo endeavor alive the whole time on the side. We finally get to the point where I'm putting out like properly polished CDs, and
Yeah.
and now for the first time ever, vinyl. It's real.
That
There it
is
is.
that is
Uh,
so cool. And,
yeah.
and look at we'll talk about that. We'll nerd out on that because I know that a lot of folks watching here are envious. A lot of us are I won't say older, but more experienced and mature folks who love physical media still. And I
Oh
don't think
yeah.
many of us release on physical media. So I know you'll probably have questions from folks about that. And I did warn Mike before the show in the pre-show that a lot of people are going to want his advice after they hear what he's done and see what he's done because you have one of, may I say, the best websites I've seen for an artist going around. And
Man, I
I
really
believe that you just
appreciate
whip
that.
this up in about 5 minutes. Is that the case?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. Yeah, more like three. No. Um, no, 2021, man, it was just such a slow year musically for me. I mean, for all of us, right? With the ongoing lockdowns and all these things. So I kind of spent the better part of the year like trying to figure out like what my next move was going to be. And so I mean, Bridges, the new album, and I'm sure we'll get to that. It had been in mixing and mastering for like 3 years, and I was like, well, it's got to come out this year. It's bound to be done at some point. So I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool if like I had a website and all that stuff? So the website is the end result of about 2.5 months or so of working behind the scenes. The first 10 months of this year were just pretty well cold and dark, no updates, no nothing. Um, but for those 2 or 3 months leading up to the website launch, the album launch, all this stuff. I was super super hard at work behind the scenes. Those are like 8-hour days for the better part of 2 months, putting
Yeah.
that together and just screwing around with templates and color schemes and, oh, where does this go? Oh, should I do a bio? Should I do short form, long form? Why not both? Just,
Well,
oh,
it's
what a mess.
it is awesome. Yeah, as Thomas Christ, one of our great moderators here, says, very slick website. Absolutely. And for anyone who's
Thank
played
you,
around with
sir.
websites or has been to studiolivetoday.com, if you want to see a direct night and day comparison, just go to studiolivetoday.com and then go to mikehaggith.com, and you'll see what a half-assed versus putting your entire ass into your website looks like.
Yes, both cheeks went into
Both.
mine.
That's the title of your next album, isn't it? Both
Yeah,
cheeks. Mike
both cheeks.
Haggith,
Yeah,
both
it's like
cheeks.
Phil Collins, both sides, but it'll just be me with a butt. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Well, yeah, and,
So,
and again, if you go and look at all the discography and all of your bands and all the bio, yeah, you've definitely had a lot of stuff. Like, I'm amazed by people that have created so much music and played in so many different bands and different styles of music. What is you playing now? So your solo stuff that folks may have heard if they listen to the latest Your Music live shows. How would
hmm.
you describe your music? Like, what sort of music are you putting out now, and why? Why is that particular style the way that you've found yourself now?
Well, it's very much like a mix of like indie and alternative, and I mean, I think it's kind of the product of what I grew up with. So, a lot of your classic '90s, radio hits, mixed with
Mm,
a little flair of classic rock from my dad. He loved classic rock.
yeah,
And then on was a lot of singer songwriter, a lot of female artists. But then you also had like Elton John, Billy Joel, Meatloaf. The almost like operatic and just like, how can we work in strings, and also how can we take this song and make it 13 minutes long and just
yeah,
drive it with piano.
yeah,
And so I've kind of become a melting pot, I think, of all of my influences over the years. Um, and I think that's a pretty good descriptor of sort of where I am now. I've kind of been all over the place, but uh, I've got a happy home here with the sound that I've got. I think I'm really proud of it.
yeah. Well, it's very, very cool. And if you're wondering, oh, you're not playing Mike's music, well, you're gonna have to go check it out yourself. I highly recommend you do. And if you want to check out the last couple of episodes of Your Music Live, Mike's music was very much featured in those. So you can go and do that. And all the links, by the way, down in the description. So if you want to check out Mike on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Bandcamp, all of the places, all of those links are
Everywhere.
down below. Or just go to
Yeah.
mikehaggith.com and drool over his very slick website, and then you can find
Bam.
all the links there as well. Very, very cool. So, you mentioned that you started writing songs really early on, and
Yeah.
then sort of evolved from there. What was it about songwriting? Like, what sparked your interest to say, not only do I want to listen to this music that I like, that my parents have influenced me with, and then in the '90s listen to all the cool bands that we all dug, but what made you say, hey, I want to create that?
I don't think I ever had a moment where I was like, hey, I want to do this. I just my whole life, like music or like a weird, hook for a song or something, it just kind of pop into my head
Mm,
when I'm just kind of looking around, or like I tune out or I drift off or whatever. And um, every now and then I'll just like, just start doing a thing in my head, or like I'll kind of hear something and go, oh, wait a minute, and start writing things down, or
yeah,
whip out the iPad and fire up GarageBand. That's how I do a lot of things now. And
nice.
just like, oh, okay, well, let me program enough of this just so that I can come back to it and hear it and let it trigger what I was trying to do. And yeah, so it's just kind of been like that my whole life. The first song I remember writing, I was 6 years old. It was a song called "I Love You Anyways," and it was actually good enough to get a release on my 2011 solo album,
Oh,
Suspended
wow.
Animation. Yeah. Um, so this is the song that I wrote when I was 6 years old in a dream.
Wow.
I don't know, like I was dreaming that, like, yeah, I was just in a band and we went on stage and we just played this song, and I woke up and I was like, oh, it's a good lead riff. Just a da na 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 na. I was like, oh, cool. And I just remembered it this whole like all of these years. And yeah, did I? Oh yeah,
There you
no,
go.
it
Yep.
even made it onto this first tape here. It's the fourth
Oh wow.
track, but I mean, I couldn't really play guitar at this point, so it's a very stripped down, crappy version that sounds nothing like the studio recording. But yeah, anyway, there it is right there on the track listing.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, so it's just sort of been a habit,
It's
I
always
guess.
been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been there, but like I don't know. I have struggled with a lot of things through my life, and I've just found that if I write a song about it, usually that'll help me sort of come to terms with it. And if a song doesn't
Mm.
work, then I'll do a whole album or two or six. And yeah, I don't know. Eventually, it kind of smooths over and it goes away. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very, very cool. Yeah, and it's interesting because yeah, I asked that question to a lot of people, and I think none of us can really answer that to say, oh yeah, it was this one spring day in 1992 where I was sitting down and did this. Like it really is
yeah,
just you have to, and it evolves. And I love what you say about music because we talk about that on the channel a lot about music. I like to say that it always takes you up a level. So when you're feeling like absolute despair, music can be a great sort of healer to get you back closer to normal. And if
oh
you're feeling
yeah,
normal, writing and creating music can make you feel good. If you're already feeling good, it can make you feel almost euphoric because it always seems to be able to take you up a notch. So that's what I say when people are like, oh, I'm blocked, I can't make music, I can't do things. I'm like, just listen to your favorite music, and it'll very rarely make you feel worse. I've never listened to music and gone, oh, now I feel worse.
oh yeah, yeah. But on the flip side of that, I don't know. Maybe it's just be a local musician thing, but like every now and then I would go out and see another local artist or a local band play, and I would come away with it with just like almost a crippling jealousy, like, oh, why are they so good and I'm not? I guess
There is that,
it can
isn't it?
take your jealousy up a level too. Or
It's true. It can be, and you know, I was talking to some folks about this week about the comparison thing, and it's so easy and so often that we compare to each other, even whether it's your music or whether it's recording or whether it's your gear or whatever it is. You're always like, oh man, if only I had that person's guitar, or if only I could play like piano like that person. And I think, yeah, comparing yourself to others is a bit of a fool's game. And the person you should be comparing yourself is like yesterday you, because as long as
yeah,
you're actually growing and developing, that's all you can really ask of yourself. And don't compare your future to someone else's like past, because yeah, it's going to be a long road. Let's get it before we get into the nerding out about because I know people are dying to know how you record and what do you use and what's your stuff and how do you go
yeah.
about your mixing and your mastering and everything.
Hmm.
So where you live is pretty interesting. So you said you started out in the south of Canada. Is it fair to say you're about as northern Canada as you can possibly be now, up there on the 56th parallel? Is it?
Just about the 56th. Yeah, we're 55.7. So I mean,
Wow.
you can go further north. There are towns further north, but not many. Not
Yeah.
many. And actually, the on the Weather Network yesterday, and I was like, oh damn, it is pretty cold when I was driving into work yesterday morning, and I looked down at my dash and it said it was minus 39, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I felt that. Um, so the Weather Network put out all of the stats for the entire country. So basically, all the way down from Windsor, down on the 42nd, all the way to the North Pole at 90. And Thompson, Manitoba, at minus 39.1 was the coldest place in Canada yesterday morning. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
And
and the days
if
are
you don't
short and cold.
if you don't believe Mike, jump over to his Instagram, and I recommend you follow him over there because yeah, there you go. There's your proof. That's
Yeah,
your
and that says
thermometer
minus
there.
38. It flipped up to minus 38 right before I took the picture, of course. But
Always the way.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Very cool. And so yeah, so living in like I said to Mike before the show, I'm like, I know two things about Manitoba. It's really really cold, and the Winnipeg Jets are from around there. So that's about it. So it's
Yeah,
cool learning more information.
you know the two things about Manitoba. That's you are very well versed.
I'm, I'm already ahead
Basically,
of the
the
game.
encyclopedia article about Manitoba at this point.
And it's so weird to think of like that level of cold because a cold day here in Adelaide is 10 degrees Celsius, and you're telling me
Oh
you're going
man.
down another 40, 50 on that, which is quite insane and something that's out of my realm of understanding. Now, because I'm a
Yeah.
stalker and I've been going into your back catalogue as well as checking out all your cool music stuff that people can do here, like your vinyl that we'll talk about in a minute. People
Yeah.
might be noticing this uniform that you're wearing here and this headgear. Is that just for fun, or are you an airline pilot, my friend?
I know I'm actually unemployed. I just cosplay as a pilot. No, I am. I'm an airline pilot. I fly a commuter aircraft up here in the north. My captain actually made captain this year. I was a co-pilot
Congratulations,
for
great
about 2
stuff.
years. Thank you. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And yeah, I mean the best part about where I'm at right now is whereas a lot of airlines just kind of scoop you up and you just kind of fly around everywhere for like 3 or 4 days and then you come home. At least where
Yeah,
I am right now, um, you do all your flying from your home base. So I'm home for dinner every night, and
yeah, right.
yeah, it's nice. It's a good leisurely lifestyle, and it affords me enough time and money to sort of supplement my music habit. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Very cool. Well, we could probably spend another, half an hour talking about that side of it, but maybe next time because I know people are anxious to hear more about the music. So, what
Yeah.
is it that you use primarily to create? So you mentioned like GarageBand and the iPad before. So, what other
Mhm.
sort of gear is your go-to stuff if you're looking to create and record music yourself?
Honestly, what it used to be was I would take my guitar and I had an old USB microphone that I would just plug into a computer wherever I was, and I'd
Hmm.
fire up Audacity, and Audacity was
Nice.
like the main way that I would record like entire albums. I've done entire albums with Audacity. I did for a long, long time,
Mm.
up until a couple of years ago, actually. So that was like the main thing. Now, I'm when it comes to gear, I'm a minimalist. I know
Mm.
everybody nerds out about gear. I know that I need to trade in my musician card now that I've admitted this, but I couldn't give a crap about gear. Man, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad too because like I've played in like recorded in studios with like $70,000 worth of gear, and I'm just like, oh my god, like if I actually cared about gear, I'd be a lot more poor than I am now. So um, my main guitar is a family heirloom. Uh, it's a 12 string acoustic from 1975. It was my
Nice.
uncle's, and then he gave it to me. And honestly, he said, well, I haven't played it in 20 years. You're going to need to change the strings. And I pulled it out and played it, and I was like, no, it sounds beautiful. So they're 20-year-old strings on a
Wow.
40-year-old guitar, and that just is what it
Outstanding.
is. Um, so for the last, well, okay, Bridges is the most recent album.
Mm.
So we're going to set that one off to the side for now. I do the majority of my work in GarageBand right here on this iPad,
Oh wow.
and that's it. Now, when I do record things on the iPad, I don't even use an external microphone. This thing right here, actually, I bought about 2, 3 months ago. Um, so I don't even use an external microphone. This thing's got such a good built-in condenser that,
Hmm.
for vocals or acoustic guitar or whatever, I just like hold it right about there and just
Yep.
sort of aim at it and just go. And that's it. Everything else, I'll record some things externally, other things I'll program, and I'll just kind of mix and mash them all right in here, and off we go. Um, Now, when I moved to Manitoba 4 years ago, I needed to learn guitar because I needed to do something. So I had kind of had like a rudimentary understanding of how to play the instrument, but I was like, "Ah, I actually need to learn real chords."
Yeah.
So I fired up Audacity and just started writing songs about feeling lonely or isolated and all those things. So the Bridges album was written and recorded 4 years ago,
Oh wow.
predominantly with Audacity
That's
and
so cool.
external instruments. And then my producer got a hold of it. He uses Reaper and he's got some really good plugins. So this album is a mix of Audacity and Reaper. Um, Now it sat on the mixing board for the better part of 3 years, and while it was taking on that delay, I started recording with the iPad on GarageBand, and that's how we came up with this album, which came out in 2020. It kind of jumped the queue. It's called If Ever Comes the Day. So this is fully recorded with the iPad, and I'll probably send you a couple cuts off of this one for YML
Yeah,
maybe, because
very cool.
I think this is a fantastic record. I really do. And then we were finally able to get Bridges out this year, thank God too, because that was just such a proud piece of work that just sat in limbo behind the scenes for so long. And my God, it became the white elephant. It really did.
Yeah.
And it finally got there.
That's it's so cool. Like I know that you've the folks that are watching here live, you've already definitely encouraged them and motivated them. And if you're watching on the replay, I think every time I do one of these interviews, like different people have different levels. Some people like to surround themselves with gear and it makes them feel good and it makes them play better music, and that's fine too. But the minimalist approach, like it is more about what you're playing and what you're writing than what you're using to record it. And we've been saying that for years. It's people are like, oh, what do I need to get started? And it's like you literally you got a smartphone in your
You,
hand. Point
yeah,
this at yourself and start making musical related sounds. Start tapping pots and pans for your drums. Start beatboxing if you want to. There's so
yeah,
many ways you can create, and it's so refreshing to hear that, because I think if you spend more than about 10 minutes on the internet, you'll walk away, like you said before about going to a gig, you'll walk away completely overwhelmed going, oh, now I don't know what to do because everyone's telling me I need this $400 condenser mic and I need this $1,200 interface and this external valve preamp, and you're just like, oh, or you can grab your iPad and sing into that. It's
yeah.
all good.
No, that's it. Like I've recorded in $70,000 studios, and I've recorded this or
Yeah.
like this iPad in this room right here gave us this album in its entirety.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what to tell you. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. After I took those tracks and exported them, I fired them off to Lander for an automated master for like $70,
Yep.
and that's it. That's all you got to do.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool, so cool. So, I mean, we've talked a little bit about, and again, now I feel bad about asking you this because you've already sort of said you don't like to use a whole lot of stuff. But outside of what we've talked about, is there any sort of tool, either hardware or software tool? Obviously, you talked about Audacity and GarageBand and the iPad. Is there
Mhm.
another go-to tool or thing that you use in terms of creating? Maybe how you capture your ideas, or how you do your songwriting? Anything that comes to mind?
Nothing like super technical. I mean, like if I have an idea for a song and I have time to, grab the iPad and fire up a new GarageBand project file and just slap something down for 15 minutes, great. I'll do that, and
Mm,
then there you go. Or sometimes I'll just grab the phone, and like if I'm just screwing around with the guitar and I come across something cool, I'm like, all right, sweet, voice memo it and just track it before I forget, and off
yep.
you go. Or okay, so this happened to me about 2 months ago. Um, is another dream thing, which is the most inconvenient. So I woke up at like 6:30 in the morning. I had this dream, and I forget what it was, but it was almost like I was watching like a documentary or something on an airport or something. That's the kind of geeky crap a guy like me dreams about, right? And so anyway, as the credits are rolling, this song starts playing and this hook, and it's just beautiful, and it's like da, na, 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 na. And I wake up and I'm like, what do I do? And it's like 6:25 in the morning, and like I got to work at 10, and my fiance's sleeping, and the cats are here and here, and they're sleeping, and it's dark, and I'm like, do I get up? Like, what if the airline needs me to fly for 14 hours? I'm going to be exhausted. So I
Yeah.
pulled my phone, and I was like, well, I can't make any noise. So I just like texted myself 123 ish BPM. Key is this. Uh, Cadence is this, notes are this, and then I went 1, 2, 3, 4 to count the time, and then jumped underneath that and just kind of like wrote the notes at like the kind of the general time where they would fall along the four count, and I was like, I
Wow.
I hope that's enough when I wake up, and texted that to myself and went back to sleep, and it turns out it was. It took me about an hour of like reading it and just sort of like assembling some stuff in GarageBand, and then I started to hear something, and I was, oh, there it is, and then off you go.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
That
don't
is
know, like
cool.
I just I can't do a lot of gear. I can't do that. I got too much student debt to light gear, is what it is.
Well, it's I
So
mean,
yeah,
look, when you go and you look at your discography and all the work you've done, it hasn't slowed you down. And in fact, what I see from some folks that are big into the gear, and we've talked about this a lot on other interviews, is that the most prolific people that I know that make the best music seem to care less about the gear, and it can work the other way. That some people get so hung up on the latest tool, the latest toy, the latest plugin, the latest app, the latest piece of gear, they're not actually creating music. You go to their page and it's radio silence, pardon the pun, because there's nothing there.
yeah.
They're not actually getting stuff finished. And I don't know, I just wish people would trade in some of that passion for having the latest and greatest with actually creating songs and getting music out there, because we need more people creating more music, and it's not the way to do it. I like Gortium here says we need audio jacks for our brains. Now that'd be cool. Like forget
Oh
all your
yeah.
virtual reality and augmented reality. We need a way to be able to send thoughts of ideas of audio directly and
Oh yeah.
record those down like an audio version, a telepathy version of what you did. So yeah,
Can
let's
you imagine the new album? I've got it all in my head, and I just plug in and just like play the album through in my head, and just go, ah, cool, it's recorded. It's
it would
just
be
done.
amazing because
Oh
how many
yeah.
times are you hearing like an oboe or a cello in your head and you're like, I got no idea how to play an oboe or a cello and I'm not
Oh
going to be able
god,
to get
yeah.
that sound. Use a virtual instrument, that's fine. But yeah, so many times I'm like,
Mm.
oh, it would be so cool if I could get here. Like sometimes you play music and you get exactly what's in your head out there. Other times you're like, man, I wish I could just get here out there and
Oh yeah.
create. But very, very cool. We've got Dr. Zorders here. Said he asked if his iPad is a waterproof, and apparently it's raining and covered in water. So generally not, but and apparently don't try the dry rice method if you get a soaked phone or iPad. Apparently that can cause more damage. But I've used it a bunch of times, and that's where you
I've
dunk
used
if
it
you get
on
water.
an Android phone. I've never had to do it with an Apple thing. Maybe it's an Apple thing. I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah,
they don't
good
recommend
to
it, but maybe
know.
that's just so that you take it back to Apple and buy a new phone. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, but I've
Yeah.
used it maybe 4 or 5 times on different iPhones, and it's always worked fine. And that if you don't know that, that's get a big tub of dry rice, put your phone in there, leave it there for about 24 hours, take it back out, and the idea is that the rice is supposed to draw out any moisture that's in there. So
It
good luck to you, doctor.
works. It really does.
It's worked for me. I even had water under the screen, and it somehow managed to draw that out and took it. Anyway,
Oh
we're
yeah.
getting way off track. Now, in terms of your YouTube channel, so we were talking about this a little bit before the interview and the pre-show. So you've sort of only recently kind of gone all in on YouTube in terms of creating music videos. You've got an amazing music video for The Nature of Times, which we played on YML recently, and I encourage folks to go check that out, as well as lyric videos, which for anyone that's created lyric videos takes a lot of time. Can you talk us through the process of that? Because fairly professional looking stuff that you've got on your page. Is that all you, and how do you do it?
Yeah. That's as far as the lyric videos go. Basically, I've never done that before this album. And I had never even thought about it. I've seen people make lyric videos, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not an animator. I'm not this. I'm not that. I can never do it. And then it was actually the release of Taylor Swift's Folklore album, if you could believe that. The
Mm,
YouTube version of that for all the songs, right? It's just really generic stock footage slowly rolling, and just lyrics just popping up and disappearing across the screen as the song goes along. So I
yeah.
thought about that, and I was like, oh, well, that might not be terrible. So I went to a website called Pexels, and I was talking to a couple people who have actually heard of this website, pexels.com,
Mm,
and it's all royalty free stock video. So I just downloaded a whole bunch of stuff, like, about 6 different ones of like Fire. And then that all
mm,
got grouped into one for one song, or 6 or 7 different ones of like going over this beautiful island or something. And so I was like, okay, cool. Now I have some cool stock footage or whatever. And then I have Phil Mora, um, from Wondershare. There, it's a pretty good video editing
mm.
software. I got it a couple of years ago. I spent $100 on it, and I'm glad that I remembered my login info when I got the new computer. Or my God, that would have been just awful. Uh, um, so I fired it in there, and then just had to screw around with different titles and how does it work and how to make transitions happen. And so basically, when it was all said and done, I fired all those lyric videos out in about a day or so, and just kind of got that all ready to go. But yeah, I just wanted to do something a little bit more engaging, give you something to watch rather than just what I used to do, or I'd just take the album cover, splash it on the screen, and then just chuck the
Yeah.
MP3 behind it. Say, here's the YouTube version. Uh, I'm trying to do better. I really am
Nice.
trying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, and as Thomas says here, the results are super impressive, and I know it does take a bit of time to do that because yeah, there's no real sort of shortcut for getting all those lyrics in there. Like, yeah, it's easy enough to just throw some stock footage, and yeah, pexels.com is good. I use canva.com, which is a similar sort of thing, has a bit of royalty free, and you can like pay for premium subscriptions to a lot of these places. Storyblocks is another one, but yeah, I've found that a lot of folks these days are making really interesting and engaging videos just using stock footage. It doesn't have to be a really involved process. You can actually get some good stuff done. So yeah, good. Again, well done. You're like you're the example that the shining light that I'm going to send everyone over to. So when they come to me and they're like, Pete, what's your advice on creating albums and doing music videos? I'm going to like, you need to go talk to Mike Haggith because he's doing a better job than most of us.
No, I appreciate that, man. I really do. I mean, the Nature of the Times, the lead single off the new album, we did a proper music video for that. I just hired a buddy, paid him a couple $100, and we went out. I think it was like 25 below, and he's like, "All right, well, let's just go out and film you playing it. And, I'll put it all together." And it was the result is pretty great. We had a lot of fun with that. Um, we do a take and I'd go out there and play my guitar like that's me just in a shirt and exposed hands and everything. It's 24 below zero out there. So I'd keep the car running off the screen there. Just like we'd do one take and he'd be like, "That's a little better, but maybe we can." I'm like, "Hold that thought. I need to go sit in the car for a minute." he was Jag. He was so great working with me because oh my god, I was such a baby about it. Uh, but it was so fun, and we had such a great time. There's the wind blowing my hair all over the place. I look like a
Yeah.
ghost.
Oh, yeah. So the first time I'm watching this, I'm like, that's a really cool snow effects you got going on there. Then I found out that you live up in
Oh yeah.
Manitoba, and I'm like, oh wait, you don't need to use any effects for that sort of thing.
Wow, what a
Oh,
great green screen they
yeah.
used.
It is so
Oh
weird these
God.
days that anytime you do something real, people are looking for the way that it's not real, and they're like, oh, I bet they used a green screen and then they used an effect on that one. And it's like, yeah,
Everybody
no.
needs a good conspiracy to really just sink their teeth into. So
Oh,
that's
careful,
good.
Mike. We were talking conspiracy theories before we started, and we're like, oh, we could do another whole 30 minutes on just that. Um,
All I'm going to say is Australia isn't real. So I don't know where you're coming from, but that's all.
It's true. I'm coming to you live just north of the ice wall. I can see if I go to my second floor, I can see the military guarding the ice wall. That's
Actually, the
Antarctica.
police just texted me. They said your call is coming from inside the house. Um,
Knock on the window. I'm out there freezing my ass off.
oh, that's a good green screen you've got there.
Right, totally. Oh, unless you. So Jade Starr actually, who you made over from the community, she has a green screen and she uses my backdrop. So I sent her a photo of my backdrop. So she actually loves being in my studio sometimes just to creep me out. And one day I'm going to turn around. You're actually going to be there because you're going to
Oh
have
yeah.
completely green screened and then fool me that you're really there. We're overtime, which is no surprise because it's been fascinating chatting to you. But we've got a couple more questions. So if you got another 10 minutes, Mike, so we can finish off here because I know that
I got
people
all
want
the
to hear
time in the
these last
world.
things.
Oh
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
So, what would you say is the proudest moment you've had since you started creating music? And it's probably going to be a tough one for you because you've been going through a bunch of different
Oh
things that you
yeah.
got there. But are there any things that stand out to you right now in 2021 to when you look back, you're like, yeah, that was the moment where I'm just like, yeah, that's what I'm proudest of that I've done in music.
Proudest moment. Oh yeah, no, there have been 1,000 of them. Okay, let me pull one that we haven't talked about yet. So, my old band, The Din, we were in Sault Ste. Marie. We were a pretty big group for a couple of years. We were really gaining traction through the summer of 2016, and we were recording our debut album behind the scenes. And we took out a 400 seat theater, and we, supplied all of our PA gear and all that stuff. We numbered all the seating sections. We made all the like all the tickets for all 400 seats. We seat assigned them, stamped them all, made them by hand, and sold them for super cheap just to fill the place. And we went on, and we just had so much fun. It was the 12th of August in this like 100-year-old auditorium, and it was so damn hot on the stage. No air conditioning, no nothing. It was like 130 degrees
Oh
Fahrenheit.
wow.
Sorry, it's like 50 degrees
Yeah,
Celsius.
yeah.
I keep forgetting we're not near the U.S. We're not using freedom units, so. um, but so we had such a great time, and the local TV station came out and they filmed the whole show, and we became the subject of the pilot episode for their series featuring local bands and a
Wow.
couple hundred people in the place. And we recorded the tape for a live album, and it was like just the proudest thing. And we had such a great time. And then um, 5 years later, the live tape from that night is coming out on Boxing Day this year. So there it is, the Din,
Wow.
technically live because it's at the Tech Theater. Um, yeah, so
That's so cool.
just what a super cool night. And I mean, we had so many great shows, and yeah, so many super proud moments. But that was just, God, I never felt quite so great coming off the stage as we did that night. Is just everything was just so cool.
Awesome. And yeah, as I just showed there on your website, if you want to check out the Din, all of your different bands and projects are there. And we've got a couple of Canadians here. So we've got
Oh
Brad,
yeah.
example, who is here he's from the Sioux, as is our man Gortium 85. We know we've got
Hmm.
Gary Hubbs over there in Vancouver. So a lot of Canadians representing here, and it's very very cool. Something that Canadians and music go together really well for some reason. I don't know if it's because it's so cold that you're just like, hey, you might as well
Yeah.
sit around, drink a beer, and jam out for the next 4 hours because we're not going anywhere. But some of my favorite musicians are from the Great White North, so it's very very
Well,
cool.
the only way to stay warm is to keep moving, and if you're going to move, you might as well do it with a fretboard or some drumsticks or something in your hands. And yeah, no, it's great.
Love it. Very
Yeah.
cool. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. If anyone does have any final questions for Mike, please throw them in the chat. I do have one for you, which is
Hmm.
the vinyl. Now, for
Yeah.
those like myself that are dreaming of having your own vinyl, there's something cool about vinyl releases and having yourself on vinyl. How did that
Hmm.
come about? What was the process there of going from your normal digital and your CDs to actually pressing a vinyl release?
Well, so it actually, the way the vinyl came about is as a function of the way the CD came about. So basically, if we go back to my 2020 album, if ever comes the day, this is the concept album about a toxic relationship that just went so south so fast. So I needed, a proper booklet in there to really tell the story, to give the
Mm,
song some context. So I had to go out and basically pay $700 for 100 units, and stock them all here in my spare room, and try to sell them one on one to people.
mm,
And so when Bridges finally got across the finish line, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to do a physical release because that's my thing, right? Like, I love
mm.
albums. I'm not ever going to just toss out singles my whole life. I'm never just going to do like a digital only thing when it comes to a full length album. It's always going to get something physical because I
Yeah.
couldn't live with myself if I didn't. But I didn't want to spend, $700-800 on physical pressings and just have them eat up space in my spare room. So I was like, well, wouldn't it be great if I could find a place where I just like threw the artwork up, as like a template, and then CD units were only made when people went to the website and ordered one. And then they would
Yeah.
just get made to order and shipped directly to the people. And so then I could
Awesome.
order like 50 of them and keep them on hand, but I'm not breaking the bank to do it. So I went out and I found a website called Kunaki. That's Kunaki or AKI, sorry, .com. And so on Kanaki, basically what they do is they make everything made to order. So even if like you make films and you want to make a DVD or even a Blu-ray, you can do it all on there. It's a very basic website. The customer service is very, very basic. The whole thing
Yeah.
is basically they keep the cost down by automating everything. And I know I'm just shilling Kanaki, but my God, it was such a game changer because they also
Mm.
do made to order vinyl.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
lathe cuts, so they're about 95%, like in terms of the sound quality and stuff that you would get compared to a pressed record. But if I were going to make a record, the shortest run I could make for pressings, it's like 100, and it would
Mm.
cost me like $50 a piece, right? So I'm
Yeah.
spending
Yeah.
$5,000 just to make pressings. Well, with this, I just upload the music, upload the artwork. The whole thing is ready to order in about 5 minutes, and it costs $33 US out of the warehouse. So I list my retail ones for $35 US. Um, and so basically, you can have a release on vinyl, and it doesn't cost you a dime out of pocket. Now, I will say, um, you need to master your
Mm.
tracks a very specific way. You need
Yeah.
to basically what I found is I needed to apply a modified RIAA inverse curve. And if you don't know what that is, that's fine. I didn't either. You can look that up. And then I
Yeah.
also found that you have to throw in some multi-band compressor settings as well, so that it doesn't come out sounding too thin. But basically, the idea is preserve a bit of the bass, but really crank up the treble so that the grooves can be thinner,
Yeah.
especially for an album like this. Runs like 19 and a half minutes a side, right? So
Yeah.
it's important to do that so that it can play at a volume that's not like so quiet you can hear a pin drop. Now,
Yeah.
the lathe cuts, they do play a little quieter, but that's fine because the surface noise is basically non-existent. So you crank it up a bit, but it sounds pretty good. What I will say is I have saved all of my settings that I use for vinyl mastering. So anybody out there, if you're interested in this, shoot me a message on any of my socials, and I will apply this stuff to your stuff so that you can go out and make your own vinyl release and know that it'll sound pretty decent. It did take me like 10, 15 minutes basically to do a whole album
Yeah.
master for
Wow.
somebody. So I don't mind doing that. I have enough downtime. So anybody wants to do a vinyl release and you want a guy to hold your hand, talk you through it, help you master your stuff, I'm your guy. And I'd be more than happy to, because I went through 5 test pressings to get this, and 5 test
Yeah.
pressings at $60 Canadian a piece. So basically, to figure out the process, I spent $300, but it's so
That
worth
is
it.
so cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why I knew that that would be something that people would want to know about because yeah,
Oh yeah.
and look, some people will go, yeah, complicated. And look, I'm sure it would be a labor of love, and if you just wanted something produced, then you still got digital or you've got CD. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
the analog world is definitely coming back in a big bad way. We've got Black Covers here said that was very proud that his daughter at 14 got herself a vinyl player. Yeah, I must admit, I
That's
need a working
awesome.
record player because I need to get
Love
my
it.
kids to do it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like it's such a game changer. Like just getting on vinyl was like one of those lifelong dreams, and
Mm,
and what was a really big goal of mine. And these guys have been just running this website for like 20 years. I just had no idea about it.
mm,
And I had no idea how to like properly master for it, or anything like that. So like if I can help
yeah,
anybody out there who wants to, get a physical album out on CD, vinyl, whatever, and they don't want to pay out of pocket for it, like I'm more than happy to help. Because
that's
like
so
it's
cool.
just, yeah, like I know if the roles were reversed and somebody else knew how to do it and I didn't, that would just eat me alive. So I will absolutely give anybody a hand. Just shoot me a message, and
Very cool.
we'll go
Watch
through it.
Mike's inboxes explode in the next 24 hours as
I
people
hope
watch
so.
this
It's
on the
all about
replay.
engagement, man. It's all about building the community. So let's collab. Let's work
I
together.
love
Let
it.
me let me help you.
Because
Yeah, no, it's good.
you know what my advice will be is that you need to create yourself a tutorial video series showing people how to do this, because that would get
Yeah.
copious amounts of views if you did. So because I know that people come to me asking that, and hey, if I got that question, I could send them over to a 20-minute deep dive tutorial with Mike showing you exactly how to do it. That's exactly what I'd do. So
Cool. No, that's a good idea because I've been looking for ways to sort of like bring my YouTube channel to life. One
mm,
thing I'm going to do is album reviews, focusing on smaller artists and local guys and all that stuff. And um, I just, I don't even know how to format it or anything. I've had the executive dysfunction. It's been like 4 months. I haven't even taped it because I just don't know, like, is this fine? Like, could I just do it here and just like hold the thing up? Like, is that legit enough for YouTube? Like, I don't know. So,
it totally is.
yeah.
Just go back 5 years and see some of my first videos, and you'll see that YouTube accept anything at any quality, man. So you'll be
Yeah.
totally fine.
Maybe
Oh,
I should really just either go or get off the pot, right? It just
yeah.
it's just sort of been my thing. Like I've just I have that executive dysfunction, right? That where you're like almost so preoccupied with the gear or like how to do this or how to do that that you never actually do the thing. And I've been like that with YouTube.
Well,
So
yeah.
I'm
You've
trying to
been
learn.
very slack and lazy. I mean, look at
Oh
the lack
God,
of
yeah.
albums and things you've been producing over there. So yeah, it's not like you've been not doing things. Very cool. I think we could probably chat for another hour, and definitely keen to get you back on the channel in the future. But we do need to finish up. All good things must come to an end. Before you go though, what I like to ask people towards the end is, if someone out there is sort of on the fence and they're maybe just thinking about getting started and want to do what you do, what's the one piece of advice you'd pass on to someone who is starting out in home recording or starting out in creating their own music?
The best thing about starting out is that it doesn't matter how awful it is. I am living proof. I've went from this, right? Okay, so here you go. Here's the one side. This is the demonstration recording in 2005, the bridges in 2021 on CD and on vinyl, and I'm on Pete John's show for God's sake. Like, your first thing is always going to suck. It's going to suck so bad. And even if it doesn't actually suck, it's going to suck when you look at it because you're critical and you see yourself at your lowest moment and all that stuff. So that's fine. Listen, your first thing is going to suck, but that's okay because it's your first thing. You know what's going to suck less? Your second thing and your third thing and your fourth thing. And maybe your fifth thing is actually going to be pretty good, but you can't get to the fifth thing until you do the first thing. And hey, I'm going to take my own advice and I'm going to start recording that YouTube series on the album reviews because my first one is probably going to suck, but that's okay. How's that?
That is perfect. Yeah, there you go. Clip that soundbite, that minute,
Yeah,
and play it back to yourself, folks,
that's
over and
right.
over again, because yeah, exactly right. Like, you just need to. There's a couple of things that I say. Like, again, when you don't know where to start, just start. So I think
Yeah,
just doing it is one of the best ways to learn, because you won't know until you try, and you might be perfect at it, or you might absolutely suck. And then when you suck, you can work on it and see what other people do and keep improving. And the other thing is that everyone starts at zero. So if you're sitting there feeling like, really, again, you got that jealousy that Mike talked about. We'll go full circle here. You've
yeah.
been like, when you go and see a gig and you see someone, you're like, man, I've got no hope of ever being like them. Well, of course you don't,
Mhm.
because you haven't started yet. So everyone starts at zero. They started at zero. Like, before you flew your first plane, you'd done 0 hours, and now you've
Yeah,
done thousands of hours. So it's the same with recording. It's the same with music. Everyone starts with zero. We all have the same thing, and then yeah, just keep doing it. The whole 10,000 hour thing is pretty accurate. Like, the more time you put into your effort and the more time you do things, the better you're going to get. I haven't heard from anyone that said, man, I sucked at recording and then I spent 500 hours learning and now I'm worse. It just doesn't
yeah.
happen. You're going to
No,
improve and get
absolutely.
better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, like for every studio track you hear, like an important thing if you're just getting into recording, an important thing to know is that like for every minute of finished, final polished runtime, there's about 100 hours of work there.
Mm.
So if you just feel like it takes forever and 99% of the things you do in the studio don't work, that's fine. You're going to find the 1% of things that do. And everybody's had that. That's why
Yeah.
recording in studios takes so damn long, and that's why mixing and mastering takes forever. Is because 99% of the time we go, Oh, that sounds terrible. Undo that. Okay, well, let's try something else. And I don't know. That's how you get there.
Yeah. Wise words indeed. Right, we are going to have to finish there, folks. I know it's been a great having Mike here. Where can folks go to? Where's the easiest place folks can go to check out your music if they want to learn more and hear more of your stuff?
If you want to learn more and hear more, just go to mikehaggith.com. Everything is there. You've got links, so you can go to the discography page or the music store page. You've got links to listen. You can go to the connect page at the end of the site there. That's where you'll find me on all my socials. Get to all the channels, all that stuff. You have all the different places to listen. It's great. You go there. It's a good directory, and also you can fill out the form or just grab my email and send me something direct if you need. Yeah, it's nice and easy, all in one place.
Love it. So yeah, everyone go over there right now and say, Mike, I want you to produce my record.
Let's do it.
Very, very cool stuff. Thank you so much to Mike for being here. Thanks for everyone who's been here live. It's always great to have you folks here to bounce off of. And if you're watching on the replay, don't worry, we love you just as much. If you had some fun here today, the thumbs up button's down below. Also, share it with other folks. I think there's a lot of inspirational stuff in this video. So if you hit the share button and send it to your aunties, uncles, nieces, nephews, mail carriers, you name it. And finally, thank you to Mike. Thanks for being here, my friend. Yeah, if people want to go check your stuff out, check out the links down below.
Right on.
Thanks
for
everyone
having
being
me.
here. No problem at all. And as we say at the end of every show, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and keep creating. Take care, everyone.